Welcome to this week's session with the Putnam County District Library and the Guiding Ohio Online Grant. We are going to take a look this week at Tunefind and at a website called Zoomquilt. So let's start off here. Remember and keep in mind that this project was supported in whole or in part by the Federal Institute of the Museum and Library Services Funds. It's granted through the State Library of Ohio, and the opinions expressed herein do not necessarily reflect the position or the policy of IMLS or the State Library of Ohio, and no official endorsement by either agency should be inferred. So starting off here with Tunefind. Tunefind's an American music search website which helps to find music that's featured in television shows, on movies, and you can search many different ways here for this information. The site is free to use. If you want to be able to communicate with the community, because say for example you're looking for a specific tune or information and you can't find that on the site, if you are part of the community you can post questions. So that is the one benefit. Do keep in mind, like I said, it is free, so you are going to have the different advertising that pops up throughout. So what I have here is I am currently logged in as myself, you can see, and I have going across the top, I have TV shows, movies, games, what's trending now in news. The same information appears as you scroll and go down the page. I have what is featured, I have the recent TV, I have recent movies, I have the trending artists, and what's a little bit kind of unique here is I do have the different TV schedules, and by looking here at the TV schedule, I can actually, if I click here, I'm going to click on Show More, and you can see then the actual time frame and what day of the week. So say for example on Wednesday, where you have all of these different TV shows that appear on Wednesday that have some type of music associated with. So you could actually take one of these and you could click on this. So say for example Brilliant Minds, I click on that, up comes Brilliant Minds. I can actually follow if I choose to, and then I can go down and get the soundtrack and that information. Notice here's where I would see the tracks, and here's where I would see the questions if someone was asking a particular question. I'm going to go back to the start page here of Tunefind, and I want to look specifically, just for example's sake, let's look at Superman. Notice I have 34 songs there that are available. I already have Superman opened up here on another tab, so I have these different songs that appear. Here's how I can choose to listen. I can listen based on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or even on what's called SoundTrader. I can, favorite the songs, and I can actually go out here to the side and drag and adjust order and those type of things. So what I wanted to show you is, obviously these are all going to be based upon whatever you might subscribe to, and even if you don't, you can get and hear a preview as well. So say for example I click here on Apple Music, which I do not currently subscribe to, I can do a preview. Simple enough, I would just hear, a snippet of the information. However, if I go to Spotify, where I am signed in, you can see how I'm signed in here. And put music. Put the word.
Bring me sunshine.
And so I get that information available to me. And I can play that out, and then I would have other additional songs that become recommended here as well. I can follow, I can do all those type of things that we find and see now with our social media. The second site I just want to take a look at is Zoomquilt. One thing I am going to tell you with Zoomquilt is Zoomquilt has a lot of the what do I want to call the fantasy, the maybe things that I know myself I'm not into. I'm not into all of these maybe deeper, darker kind of things that are out there. But I'm going to show you here because there's more than just what you see with some of that fantasy type of stuff going on. If I go to just Zoomquilt and click on that, this is what I'm going to see. I'm going to see all that information. And note what Zoomquilt does is Zoomquilt takes an image and it's painted like a canvas. And then what happens is it just continues to kind of go into this rectangular hole that's in the middle, and then it just continues. And it's called an infinite zoom because the picture just continues. It continues to grow and grow and grow. And like I said, as you go into some of these, they get a little bit darker in character, that spooky kind of imaging sometimes. However, you can do the same thing. If I notice here, this is a Zoomquilt, and it's one of those that's available that is based upon flowers. Notice this is available off of YouTube. Just kind of cool to kind of watch and see how it takes an image, it zooms into that middle part, that rectangular part of that image, and it just continues to grow, and it continues. It's just like, you're walking down this path and seeing the image. So that's what you're going to get as you go through any of these Zoomquilts. I do want to show you though, if I go back here to I'm going to go, I'm just going to go, I'm going to close this up. I'm going to stop and go, I'm going to just open up a new tab here, and I'm going to type in Zoomquilt, because what I want you to see is when I went out and looked and found that one that was more of the scenery with the flowers, if I scroll down here, what I can find is I can see what people also search for. So this is where I'm talking about the horror and some of that deeper, darker, spooky stuff. But notice you have these Zoomquilts that are nature. You have Zoomquilts that are galaxies, that are Earth. So when you click on these, you're going to get a whole kind of different perspective with some of these. And notice what happens. I've got all these different images that come up and that you can see. And just kind of, it's one of those sites that's just kind of, you want to watch, you can lose a lot of time just investigating and searching, but it's just kind of fun. It's a little bit something different. I do want to show you, if you ever are interested, I'm not going to go into that here, but if you want to make an infinite zoom, that's what it's referred to, you can use something called Video Leap app, and then what you would do is you navigate to what they call the AI editing section. You spot the image. This is where it says you select the infinite zoom feature to begin. You upload your images or your video, you describe it, direct it, save, and share. So this is just a site that you could use that if you yourself were interested of just kind of investigating and maybe trying out to see if you could ever make some type of an infinite zoom. That would be a starting point. Obviously, there's a lot more detail to doing that. Just wanted to make that available and let you know that that is an option that's out there if you are so inclined to think, oh, I might want to try this. So again, keep in mind that this project is supported in whole by the Federal Institute of Museum and Library Services funds. And today we just took a look at Tunefind as well as a Zoomquilt and just what's available and what you can find and see out there. Hope everyone has a fantastic week.